Hey planty people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I really wanted to talk about my top 10 favorite plants of 2020 that I currently own. And there are an array of plants. I have several Hoya that I wanted to talk about today, which is kind of funny because I haven't been talking about Hoya a ton on my YouTube channel as of late, but here we are, nonetheless. And I figured I'd just go ahead and jump in and get started. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We do a lot of fun planty, houseplant content things. And also, if you're watching the video and you're enjoying it, don't forget to hit that like button down below. It really helps out my channel. Don't forget to do that to all your favorite creators' videos because it really helps all of our channels out, and we love that. We love when the algorithm works in our favor. So not in any particular order, I'm going to just start like pulling some of my plants that I've kind of placed around me. I've already picked 10 of them, but I just wanted to just like randomly pull. Just because I pull one of them doesn't mean one is better than the other. It's just like what I have around me that are like making me the happiest. I don't think that there's one plant that is just like absolutely blowing my mind more than the rest. So I wanted to go ahead and start off with my Hoya polyneura. Hoya polyneura is so fun, so pretty. I really enjoy this plant. I didn't get this plant until this year, but a lot of my plants I didn't get until this year because that's whenever the crazy plant lady like really set in, and that's what happened to a lot of us. But Hoya polyneura is doing so much better for me. She's in LECA, she's having a good time. If you haven't watched my LECA tips and tricks, I really talk about a lot of things that people don't tell you, or things that have just like worked out in my own personal opinion, things that have worked out for me that might also work out for you. So especially if you're also interested in trying LECA for the first time, definitely talk about a lot of tips. But this guy actually grows relatively quickly for me, and that's why I love it. I took a cutting not too long ago right here. It was I can't remember if it was a 2 or a 4 leaf cutting. I think it was a 4 leaf cutting, but I really enjoy this plant. It did take a bit for it to come back from where I took a cutting from it. Probably a few months ago, it was a 4 leaf cutting, but before that, it was growing really rapidly. Since it's put out these 2 new leaves, it's already got more growth coming in and another little tiny growth point coming in right there. So I think like once they get going, they start producing leaves pretty quickly, at least for Hoyas. But like once you stun them by giving them a chop, but that happens to a lot of plants. It just takes a little bit for the Hoya polyneura to bounce back. But like I said, that happens for a lot of plants. The next up, I wanted to talk about my Philodendron atabapoense. This plant is super cool. I blame Plant Me Ashley for making me want it. I actually have 2 of these because the girl that I traded with on Plant Me Ashley's Discord was beyond kind and beyond like, this plant community is just so kind. Sometimes it's insane. But she was really sweet, and in her note that she had sent me whenever we traded, she said that she just wanted me to have a fuller pot, so she sent me 2 cuttings, which was just like, it's amazing. People are so sweet and so kind. She easily could have sold one of the cuttings somewhere else for like a good chunk of change, but instead she was just, kind and sent it to me instead, which I will be forever grateful. I told her that next time she wants to do a trade or something like that, that I'm definitely going to send her some sort of sneaky bits. So if you're watching, stay tuned for that. It's gonna come your way next time we trade. But yeah, this guy is super happy, super healthy, tons of roots. I really need to repot this guy, and by repotting it, I mean just taking the LECA out and then resituating it in the exact same jar, because I really love the aesthetic of jars. I also had a lot of comments on my LECA video saying that they were unaware that you could put LECA in jars, and you can literally put LECA in whatever you want, honestly. I like the way that this looks. I like the aesthetic of it. I like that I can see the roots. I love being able to see root growth because It's like the easiest way to tell if your plant is doing good or if the roots are rotting, because you can see it right then and there. But yeah, you can definitely put leca in anything. You don't have to have a drainage hole in anything. Drainage holes just make things a little bit easier whenever you're going to be repotting or just washing. I can't remember what that's called. Whenever you're just washing the leca out in the pot and giving it a good rinse. But yeah, definitely a fun plant, super fast grower. It's got another new leaf on the way. It's got some really tiny ones that it's pushed out so far, but that's to be expected whenever something comes out from a cut. They always turn out a little bit smaller to begin with, and then they have to start all over and try to get big again. So I'm hoping maybe this one will be a little bit bigger, but I don't think it's going to be much bigger than this one, judging by the size of it at the moment. Let's talk about a Hoya. Hoya imbricata. Me and Hoya imbricata have, we've been through it together. And it's funny that this guy has made it onto my favorites list of 2020 because I wasn't sure that it was going to be a favorite at any point in time, because I had 4 cuttings of this and one of the cuttings did not make it. I gave it way too much humidity. I actually put it in a terrarium that I have my Darth Vaderiana in right now, my begonia. And but what I did wrong is that I took the sphagnum and I got it really moist and I put it in the terrarium. I didn't wring it out at all. So it was sopping wet, which is a no-no. And so one of the cuttings just got really humid, really moist, and it just rotted. And so it didn't make it. And then I really love the aesthetic of putting it on a board. And so I made a nice little moss board for this guy, but it was drying out every single solitary day. And I know that we like to go above and beyond for our plants sometimes, but on a daily basis of taking that board and wetting it every single day, I know that it's like the simplest task in the world, but I wouldn't do it every single day. I honestly got really fed up with trying to re-wet that board all of the time, like every single day, honestly. I just got mad and I put it in a little plastic cup, and it has sphagnum moss in it, and I just stuck the roots in there because it was already pre-rooted, so that was a bonus. And then all of a sudden it started pushing out new vines, like out of nowhere. This is a brand new leaf. Like, I did not buy it with this. I am so tickled. I am so thrilled. I did not think that it was ever going to show any type of growth for me anytime soon. It did take a really long time. So maybe if you are struggling with Hoya imbricata, just be patient, because it will reward you with these cute, like there's a teensy tiny little leaf right here. You might be able to see it. But it's so cute and so sweet. And this is a really cool plant once you get the hang of it. Once you get it in like an environment that it likes, it'll take off for you. So another philodendron that I have is my Philodendron hybrid with atabapoense, which I originally had purchased as an atabapoense, but it is clearly not, because let me just show you the difference. This one is like nice and long and flat. This one is not. The lobes are very similar, and I think that that's the atabapoense part. I don't have a billieti to compare it to, nor have I seen one in person, so it's a little bit harder for me to compare. But this one has like the ridging on it, really neat. Anyway, bought this as an atabapoense, and but it is a hybrid between it and the billieti. Really like this plant, super fun. It did lose a leaf not too long ago, which was really unfortunate. However, it's got this new cute little baby. Look how tiny that is. I love it. This plant rooted for me so quickly. The roots are just phenomenal on this plant. I actually just repotted it up into a size larger net pot because I just knew that it was going to need to be repotted again and again and again in that tiny little 2-inch pot that I had it in. So I figured I'd just go ahead and make the plunge and put it in something a little bit bigger. It is in a cash po. I got this little guy from a local plant nursery called Dolan's, which I've done several tours of. But I think that this plant is super fun. I love how rewarding philodendrons are because they grow so quickly and their roots are so healthy and thick and beautiful and lovely. And yeah, I really enjoy this plant because he grows so fast. He's got a new growth right there, which I'm really looking forward to seeing it come out. Okay, so another Hoya that I have is Hoya caudata. It is putting out this really long tendril. This guy was kind of a sad story as well. I look at the original leaf right here. It was an actual plant that had the leaves that looked just like this. There was probably like 4 or 5, give or take. And then all of a sudden it just started going down. It started rotting, all the leaves started falling off. And thankfully I noticed quick enough that it was declining so rapidly, because then I was able to, I cut all the roots off and then I started rerooting it in water, and it literally had barely just enough vine for it to take and to start rooting. So I'm just so thankful that I did it when I did, because you have to have a certain amount of cells. I want to say atoms, but it is not atoms. But there has to be a certain amount of vine that is connected to the leaf, not just the leaf itself, in order for it to actually regrow. Thankfully I had enough. It's very interesting, this caudata, because if you can see, this leaf looks, really, really cool, really camo-y, almost like undulata-like, but then the new growth has been like very, very circular, very, very, the ridging, there's like no ridging, it's completely like flat, which is very odd whenever you compare it to this one, because if you can tell, there's tons of ridges and it's very like dinosaur-like, and these are just like, it's like they are cousins, long-distance cousins, and they should not be related. So I don't know if it's maybe light related or leca related, I have no idea, but this is like the exact same plant. They just, for some reason, have come out looking completely different than the original leaves. But I'm still really happy with this plant because it came back from the brink of death and it has survived, and it has so much to show for that. And maybe in the future I might take some cuttings. I'm not 100% sure. I'm trying to let like all of my plants just rest for the winter months, and hopefully they'll grow and be happy, because I felt like I did a lot of cutting this summer, and I just want my plants to just let them have their me time and take a break. But I really love this Hoya. He's really cool. Okay, so my next one is not a philodendron. It is not a Hoya, which now that I'm looking around, I just now realized that I only have Hoya and philodendron, which was a complete accident. But it is a lipstick plant. And if you are an OG subscriber or just an OG lurker, you will have seen this plant look so bad, so disheveled. This is my Mona Lisa lipstick plant. And let me tell you, this lipstick plant has been through it. It has come back from the brink of death. There's still, like, if you look at the top, it's still pretty bare. But what happened was last year, whenever, or I guess this year, excuse me, this year, whenever we were going through winter, I decided to not go outside very much, which is where this guy resides, out on my patio. And I didn't water very often. For some reason, I didn't want to water my plants. And I let this guy get way too dry for way too long, and he dropped so many leaves. This guy was so lush, so beautiful, so vibrant, and I can't believe I did him so dirty and did him like that. Like, now there's so much new foliage. But what I had to do was I went through and I actually chopped everything that was looking like really, really bare and really, really sparse. I made I made 2 small little pots out of the cuttings, and they're doing actually quite well as well. But yeah, that was the best decision I ever made because this guy looks so much better now that I've been looking at him recently. And I'm just so glad that he's made it, and because I had opportunities to just go out and buy, you know, a full another pot of this, but I really wanted to just sit and fix this guy and try and undo the dirty things that I did to him. So he's doing so well, and I'm so happy to have this guy in my collection. Also, lipstick plants are truly underrated. They're like one of my favorite genus of plants, and more people should like them. Just saying. So I have 3 plants left. One's a Hoya, one's a Philodendron, and one is a Cissus. My Cissus, I will insert some sort of footage right here. My Cissus discolor, so freaking cool, so freaking happy. I have 2 of them. One is in this room right here, and it is actually trailing on one of my little shelves. The original vine that it came with had these really huge leaf, like palm-sized leaves, and they were doing well, and then all of a sudden they weren't. But thankfully it also put out a new vine in the meantime, and it started doing really well. It was like the plant was putting all of its energy into putting out that new vine and was like killing off the old vine. But ever since I started making it climb, it has been pushing out new growth. And my other one that is on my windowsill is insane as well. It grows all around my windowsill. It grows up on the top. I will try to insert some footage of it, because it'll be kind of hard because the window's right there, and I don't really want to move my Cissus because its little tendrils are connected the blinds, and so I really don't want to disturb it in any way, shape, or form, but I will show you guys what it is doing right now. I really love that plant. I really think that it is not talked about enough. Super happy plant. It's very, to me, it seems very exotic, and it looks really high maintenance, but it's really not. It's actually pretty easy care. It just needs to be watered pretty often, just like you would be watering maybe like an alocasia or something like that. I water both of mine, give or take, every other day. Yeah, Cissus discolor, super cool, would recommend. Okay, so the last Hoya of the day is going to be my Hoya multiflora. Hoya multiflora is so neat. The flowers that it has, they're like shooting star, also called the shooting stars Hoya because of the way that the blooms come out. I got this guy this year at the beginning of the year. It is finally putting out new growth for me. It hasn't done that. Maybe these are 2 new leaves, but it has been so long since this guy has put out any type of new leaves for me, because it's really been focused on this peduncle that is down here. It has bloomed twice, which has been a really fun experience. A lot of my Hoyas bloomed, like almost all of my Hoyas bloomed this year, except for my freaking Hoya Bellas, which are supposed to be like the easiest bloomers, but for some reason my Bellas just don't want to bloom for me. I don't want to talk about it. I have this like relationship with my Bellas that are like unlike any other, and they just don't, like, one of them is not reciprocating right now, and I think we're having a little bit of a dispute. But this is not the video about Hoya Bella. This is about Hoya multiflora at the moment. But I'm so happy that he's putting out some new growth. It's very vibrant, very bright green, super fun plant. This guy is just like on my top 10 because I had some cuttings earlier this year that I killed, and then I got an actually established plant, and it is doing so well, making me so happy. It makes me feel like the hard work that I put into my plants is really paying off. But yeah, I don't really have a ton to say about Hoya multiflora. It just like, it makes me happy from within, and yeah. So I guess if I had to pick which plant has made me the happiest this year, it would probably be my Philodendron mamei. My Philodendron mamei is so beautiful, so gorgeous to me. Like, the leaves are insane. This is actually a cutting that I took from the mother plant. It's got some new growth coming in right there. It's put out it's put out this leaf since I've cut it. It has a new leaf underway. But he is in leca. I have him in this square little container. I love the aesthetic of it. The roots are bright pink, and I'm not a pink person, but I love that. I just think that this plant is just so like pillowy, luscious, and I just love how freaking tropical it feels to me. The only con I would say about this plant is that whenever it is putting out its new growth, you really want to make sure that you have your humidifier on, or you want to make sure that the humidity surrounding that plant is kind of like in the 70s, because every single time it is putting out a new leaf for me and I don't have my humidity up higher, the leaves always want to rip and tear. So I definitely would make sure that you have that humidity on the higher scale, rather than like the 40s and the 50s, just because I think that you'll have a better experience and learn from my mistakes. Look how fun that looks. That's super cool. Look at that chunky root, that big boy. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So fun. I just think that there's not a whole lot that I feel like I need to say about this guy. I think he's just so pretty and so fun. Okay, so last but certainly not least, I thought that the Philodendron mamei was the last one, but then I recounted and I was like, oh no, I'm missing one. So the last but certainly not least is a plant that I've learned a lot with. I'm so glad that I had this plant, especially before the pandemic really started setting in. I'm so glad that I got my hands on it. I'm so thankful to Plant Me Ashley for selling it to me, because this plant has been so rewarding and I love it. I will show you the bad leaf first, and then I will show you the good leaf. So this is the leaf that it came with. It definitely looks a lot worse than whenever I received it, because I had this guy in leca to begin with, and I underwatered, which is really unfortunate, and the roots dried up. But that was a common thing whenever I was starting out with leca. I thought that you're supposed to leave the reservoir to dry up, but that was a mistake. So once that happened, I was in like rescue mission mode, and I was like, what do I need to do? I see a lot of people on Instagram with theirs in moss. I see a lot of YouTube videos where they have theirs in moss. So I stuck mine in moss, and then I put it in a prop box, and then I just left it alone. And then all of a sudden, it started growing. It put out a freaking brand new leaf, and it is still growing every single day. It gets bigger. I think that it's going to grow until this completely gets flat, because this is still rippled a little bit. I think it's still trying to grow a little bit longer for me. This is so beautiful. One of my favorite plants of all time. The roots are just insane. I keep repotting it, and it just keeps spreading the roots out through the moss anyway, which is okay with me because I love seeing that root growth. This plant to me is just so freaking magical. I love her. I cannot get enough of my Anthurium warhoyanum. I could just cry looking at it because it's so special to me. I love this plant because it's taught me so much. I've learned a lot out of this plant. It's so beautiful, but I've also just learned a lot, and I've got a lot of experience just because of this plant. But yeah, there's really not a whole lot that I need to say about this guy other than she is gorgeous, and I'm just so thankful for the lessons that it has taught me, and thankful that it has stuck with me and not died. I'm just so happy that it's still growing and it looks so good. It's really unfortunate that this leaf is looking the way it is looking, but I mean, it's gorgeous. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video. Don't forget to comment down below. Tell me which one of these are your favorite. Also, if you really want to, go ahead and list your top favorite plants that you currently own of 2020. I would love to discuss it with you down in the comments. Also, if you haven't already seen it, I do have a second YouTube channel. It is called Hanging with Heather. Over there, I'm kind of unscripted, and I do a lot of streams. And I also put out just like random content. So if you really want to get to know me, that is going to be the channel to do so. I hope to see you guys over there. We are 20 subscribers strong. It's a really small channel, but that's okay. I really enjoy just being able to put out anything that I want. I really just enjoy putting out more things other than just planty content over there. I will see you guys next time.